My name is Jessica, I'm 36 years old, and I built my real estate empire from nothing. My younger brother Tyler has always been my weak spot. I've bailed him out of trouble since we were kids. But this time was different. When he called asking for $5 million for his girlfriend Amber's business venture, I had to say no. I never imagined that my refusal would lead to him claiming he sold my $15 million Manhattan penthouse. Before I continue the story, let me know where you're watching from and hit that like button if you've ever had to set boundaries with family members. This story will show you just how thin the line between family love and sanity really is. Growing up wasn't easy for Tyler and me. We lost our parents in a car accident when I was 16 and he was just 8. With no close relatives willing to take us in, I became his guardian. I put my college plans on hold and started working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. Those years shaped who I am today, determined, independent, and sometimes too protective of my little brother. I eventually managed to get my degree in business by taking night classes, and through a combination of hard work, smart investments, and admittedly some lucky breaks, I built a successful real estate development company. By my early 30s, I had offices in 3 major cities and a portfolio worth over $50 million. My journey wasn't easy, but I was proud of what I'd accomplished. Tyler, on the other hand, took a different path. He was always intelligent, but lacked discipline and focus. He dropped out of college twice, citing that formal education wasn't for him. Instead, he bounced between various jobs: bartender, personal trainer, social media manager, cryptocurrency trader, never sticking with anything for more than a few months. "I'm just exploring my options," he would tell me. Not everyone finds their passion right away. I tried to be understanding. After all, I wanted him to find his own way. But I couldn't help worrying when he repeatedly found himself in financial trouble. There was the time he invested all his savings in a friend's app idea that never materialized. Then the expensive sports car he couldn't afford but financed anyway. And the gambling phase that left him with $20,000 in debt. Each time, I stepped in to help. I paid off his debts, covered his rent when he was short, and even gave him a position at my company, which he quit after 3 months because it was too corporate. I wasn't just his sister. I had become his safety net. What concerned me most was Tyler's pattern with relationships. He had a tendency to fall hard and fast for women who seemed to view him as a project or, worse, a potential meal ticket. There was Natalie, the aspiring actress who convinced him to bankroll her showcase that never happened. After her came Sophia, who needed just a small loan to start her organic skincare line, only to disappear with the money. Each heartbreak left him devastated, but never more cautious. When Amber entered the picture 6 months ago, all the warning signs were there. Tyler met her at a tech networking event in Brooklyn. She was 25, charismatic, and full of ambitious ideas. Within weeks, he was completely enamored. "She's different, Jess," he insisted during one of our monthly dinners. "She's brilliant. She has this vision for a fashion tech platform that's going to revolutionize the industry." I nodded and smiled, having heard similar proclamations before. What alarmed me was how quickly Tyler transformed his life to accommodate Amber's dreams. He quit his latest job at a marketing firm to focus on helping Amber develop her business plan. He moved from his apartment in Queens to a more expensive place in Manhattan to be closer to her. He started talking about investors, seed funding, and market disruption, terms he'd picked up from Amber but clearly didn't fully understand. Despite Tyler's constant mentions of Amber, I hadn't actually met her. There was always some excuse. She was busy with meetings, she was visiting family, she was working late on her business plan. It seemed strange, but I didn't push the issue. I was busy myself, often traveling for work and managing properties across the country. My pride and joy was my penthouse in Manhattan, a 3-bedroom luxury apartment with panoramic views of Central Park. I had purchased it just a year ago for $15 million. The culmination of years of hard work and saving. It was more than just a home. It was a symbol of everything I had achieved. The glass walls, marble countertops, And private rooftop garden represented security that the orphan 16-year-old girl never thought she'd have. Due to my travel schedule, I was rarely there for more than a week at a time. The irony wasn't lost on me, working so hard to afford a beautiful home that I hardly ever enjoyed. Still, knowing it was there, waiting for me, provided comfort during long business trips and stressful negotiations. Little did I know that my beautiful penthouse would soon become the center of a family crisis that would test the limits of my relationship with my brother. I was in Singapore finalizing a major development deal when Tyler called. It was 3 a.m. local time, and seeing his name flash on my phone immediately set off alarm bells. Tyler rarely called at scheduled times, let alone accounting for time zone differences. "Tyler? Is everything okay?" I answered, my voice thick with sleep. "Jess. Sorry, did I wake you?" I forgot about the time difference. His voice was unusually animated, almost manic with excitement. "But this couldn't wait. I need to talk to you about something huge." I sat up in bed, rubbing my eyes. "What's going on?" "It's Amber's business. We've finalized the concept, and it's revolutionary. We're calling it Style AI, a fashion platform that uses artificial intelligence to create personalized clothing designs. Users upload their body measurements and style preferences, and the AI generates unique designs that perfectly suit them. Then they can order these custom pieces directly through the app." Despite my sleepiness, I had to admit it sounded interesting. "That's actually a cool concept, Tyler. Right? But that's just the beginning. The AI also analyzes fashion trends from social media, runways, everything, so the designs are always cutting edge. And get this, we're implementing a sustainability component where users can upcycle their old clothes into new designs." His enthusiasm was palpable, and for a moment, I allowed myself to hope that maybe this time was different. Maybe Amber really did have a viable business idea. "Sounds promising. Do you have a business plan? Market research? Who's your target demographic?" Yes, we have all that," he said quickly, though I noted he didn't offer any specifics. "Amber has been working on this concept for years. She has a degree in fashion design from Parsons and worked at 2 tech startups. She knows the industry inside and out." That was news to me. Tyler had never mentioned Amber's background before. "That's impressive. So, what do you need from me?" "Advice on the real estate aspect of the business." There was a slight pause before Tyler continued, his voice now more measured. "Actually, we need funding to get this off the ground. We need $5 million. I nearly choked. $5 million? Tyler, that's a massive amount. I know it sounds like a lot. He rushed to explain, but we've broken down all the costs. We need to build the AI engine, which requires serious computing power and developer talent. Then there's the fashion design team. Manufacturing connections, marketing budget, office space in the garment district. Amber says this is actually a lean startup budget for what we're trying to accomplish." My initial excitement quickly gave way to concern. This wasn't a small favor or a temporary loan. This was serious money, even for me. "Have you approached any venture capital firms? Angel investors? That's typically how tech startups get funded." "We have, but they don't get the vision," Tyler said, frustration evident in his voice. "They want to see a working prototype. But we need the funding to build the prototype in the first place." It's a catch-22. That was actually a legitimate challenge for startups, but also a common reality of the business world. If professional investors weren't willing to take the risk, why should I? "Can I see the business plan? The financial projections? I'd need to understand exactly how this money would be used and what the return timeline looks like." "Of course," Tyler said quickly. "Amber has all that. But Jess, we need to move fast. There's a competitor in San Francisco working on something similar. If we don't launch within the next 6 months, we could lose our first mover advantage." The urgency raised another red flag for me. Rushing into investments rarely ended well. "Tyler, you know I want to support you. But $5 million is not something I can just write a check for without serious consideration. I'd need to review all the documentation, maybe have my business advisors look it over. And, honestly, I'd need to meet Amber in person." "What?" Tyler sounded genuinely shocked. I thought you'd be excited about this opportunity. This could be huge, Jess. We're talking potential unicorn status. Amber projects, we could be valued at 100 million within 3 years. And that could be true, I said carefully. But those kinds of projections need to be backed by solid data and expertise. Look, why don't we start smaller? I could consider investing 50,000 to help you develop a minimum viable product. If that shows promise, we can discuss additional funding. The line went quiet for a moment. When Tyler spoke again, his tone had completely changed. 50,000? That's insulting. I'm not asking for a handout, Jessica. I'm offering you a ground floor investment opportunity in what could be the next big thing in fashion tech. Tyler, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm being practical. No responsible investor would put $5 million into a concept without significant due diligence. So you don't trust me, he said flatly. After everything I've shared about Amber and her vision, you still think this is just another one of my failures waiting to happen. I sighed, feeling the conversation spiraling into familiar territory. This isn't about trust. It's about business sense. Even if I had complete faith in you and Amber, I would still need to see the numbers. Meet the team, understand the market. That's just how investments work. No, this is how you work. Tyler's voice was rising now. Always controlling. Always thinking you know better than everyone else. You have all this money, but you're too selfish to help your own brother. Do you know what Amber and I could do with this opportunity? This could change our lives. His words stung, but I held firm. I am willing to help, Tyler, just not by blindly handing over $5 million. Let's approach this systematically. Start with the business plan and smaller funding, prove the concept works, and go from there. Forget it, he snapped. If you're not willing to support us fully, we'll find someone who will. I thought family meant something to you, but clearly your precious money matters more. Before I could respond, he hung up. I sat in my hotel room, phone in hand, feeling that familiar mixture of guilt and frustration that only Tyler could provoke. Part of me wondered if I was being too cautious, too controlling. But the rational businesswoman in me knew I was making the right call. $5 million for an unproven concept with no prototype, led by someone I'd never met. It would be irresponsible, regardless of family ties. I sent Tyler a text, I love you and I do support you. Let's talk more when we're both calmer. I'm open to helping in ways that make sense for everyone. He didn't respond. As I tried to fall back asleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wouldn't be the end of the matter. With Tyler, it rarely was. The week following our heated phone call was unusually quiet. Normally, after our arguments, Tyler would either continue to press his case through a barrage of texts or give me the silent treatment for days. This time, something different happened. 3 days after our call, he sent me a casual text as if nothing had occurred. Hey sis, how's Singapore? Closing that big deal? I was immediately suspicious. Tyler rarely showed interest in the details of my work, especially not after being denied something he wanted. Still, I responded politely, hoping we could move past the tension. Going well. Should finalize tomorrow. How are you? His reply came quickly, all good here. Quick question, when do you head to Tokyo next? And how long will you be gone? The question seemed innocent enough, but something about it raised my hackles. Tyler had never tracked my travel schedule before. I answered vaguely, not sure yet. Schedule's still in flux. Over the next few days. Tyler's behavior grew increasingly strange. He called twice more, each time steering the conversation toward my penthouse. I was just thinking about your place, he said during one call. Do you still have that fancy security system installed? Another time he asked, hey, random question, where do you keep the deed to your penthouse? Is it in a safe deposit box or at your lawyer's office? When I asked why he wanted to know, he laughed it off. Just curious. Amber and I were talking about real estate investments, and I realized I don't even know how that stuff works. My unease grew when I received an alert from my home security system showing that someone had entered my penthouse using the emergency key I kept with the building management. The footage clearly showed Tyler wandering through my home, opening drawers and cabinets in my home office. I called him immediately. Tyler, why are you in my apartment? Oh. He sounded surprised to be caught. I needed to borrow a suit for an investor meeting. I should have asked, sorry. You don't wear suits, and even if you did, we're not the same size. I pointed out. Right, well, actually I was showing Amber pictures of your place, and she wanted to see it in person. I thought you wouldn't mind since you're away. I did mind, very much. But chose not to escalate the situation. Please don't enter my home without permission again. 2 days later, the building manager, James, called me. Ms. Reynolds, I wanted to check if you're planning to sell your penthouse. There was a couple here yesterday with your brother, looking at the property. They said they were potential buyers. My heart sank. No. James, I am absolutely not selling. My brother has no authority to show the property to anyone. I thought it seemed unusual, James said. Especially since they were asking about the closing process and how quickly transactions can be completed in our building. Alarm bells were now ringing loudly in my head. I immediately called my attorney, Rebecca Goldman, who had handled the purchase of my penthouse. Rebecca, I'm concerned my brother might be trying to do something with my property. Is there any way he could sell it without my knowledge? Rebecca's response was reassuring. Not legally, no. Any sale would require your signature on multiple documents, verification of identity, notarization. It's virtually impossible to sell property that isn't yours, especially high-value real estate in New York. What if he forged my signature? I asked. Even then, there are multiple safeguards. The title company, the bank, the real estate attorneys, they all have verification processes. And any reputable buyer would want to meet the actual owner. Her words calmed me somewhat, but I still couldn't shake my concern. I knew my brother. Tyler was charming and persuasive. He had a gift for making people believe in him, even when they should know better. If anyone could find a loophole, it would be him. Just to be safe, Rebecca advised, I'll put an alert on your property title. If anyone tries to file any paperwork related to the penthouse, we'll be notified immediately. I took additional precautions as well. I called my bank to verify that no unusual transactions had been attempted. I changed the access codes to my building and installed additional security cameras. I even moved important documents from my home safe to a safe deposit box at my bank. Still, as I boarded my flight to Tokyo for the next phase of my business trip, I couldn't shake the feeling that Tyler was planning something. I knew his pattern when it came to rejection. He rarely accepted it gracefully. And this time, with Amber seemingly fueling his ambitions, I feared he might go to unprecedented lengths to get what he wanted. Tyler had always been impulsive, but never malicious. At least, that's what I told myself as I tried to focus on my upcoming meetings. Whatever he was planning, I had taken reasonable precautions. My property was secure. My assets were protected. Or so I thought. I was in the middle of a crucial meeting with Japanese investors when my phone started vibrating incessantly in my pocket. After the 5th consecutive call from Tyler, I excused myself and stepped outside. Tyler, I'm in the middle of something important. What's so urgent? His laugh came through the line, bright and jubilant. Just wanted to say thank you. Big sis. Thanks for the condo. Amber can finally start her business. My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? The penthouse. I know you said no to the investment, but actions speak louder than words. Selling your place so we could fund Style AI. That's real support. The room seemed to spin around me. Tyler, I didn't sell the penthouse. Well, technically I handled the sale for you, he said, his voice still cheerful. Got $5 million for it. Amazing deal considering the current market, right? $5 million. I practically shouted. That property is worth $15 million. And I didn't authorize any sale. Tyler, what have you done? He continued as if I hadn't spoken. The money's already been transferred to our new business account. Amber's meeting with developers tomorrow. This is happening, Jess. You won't regret it when we're featured in Fortune magazine. My mind raced through possibilities. This had to be another one of Tyler's pranks or delusions. There was no way he could have actually sold my property. But the confidence in his voice sent shivers down my spine. Tyler, listen to me carefully. If you've done anything illegal with my property, you need to undo it immediately. This isn't funny. Illegal? No way, he laughed again. I just used that power of attorney document you signed years ago. Remember when you were going to Europe and wanted me to be able to handle your affairs if something happened? You never revoked it. Horror washed over me. He was referring to a limited power of attorney I had signed before a potentially dangerous mountain climbing trip in Switzerland 5 years ago. It was supposed to be temporary, and I thought it had expired automatically. Had I really been so careless? That document was for emergencies only, and it was temporary. My voice was shaking now. What you're describing is fraud, Tyler. It's a crime. Relax, it's all legal. I had a lawyer review everything. His tone had shifted slightly, a hint of defensiveness creeping in. The buyers were in a hurry, some foreign investors who wanted a quick, quiet deal. They were fine with the below-market price because it was all cash, no financing delays. I ended the call and immediately dialed Rebecca. When she didn't answer, I sent an urgent text, emergency. Call me now. Tyler claims he sold my penthouse. Next, I called James, the building manager. James, has there been any activity regarding the sale of my unit? Not that I'm aware of, Ms. Reynolds. No paperwork has come through our office. That was a small relief, but I couldn't take any chances. I apologized to the Japanese investors and canceled the rest of my meetings. Within an hour, I had booked the next flight to New York. A 16-hour journey that would feel like an eternity. On the plane, I alternated between panic attacks and fury. My heart raced, my palms sweated, and several times I had to focus on my breathing to avoid hyperventilating. Had Tyler really found a way to sell my home? Was that even possible? And if so, what recourse did I have? I tried reaching Rebecca again and finally got through as we were about to take off. Jessica, I just saw your message. I'm looking into it now, but I don't see any transfer of deed filed for your property. Tyler claims he used an old power of attorney to sell it to foreign investors for $5 million. Even with a power of attorney, there would be records, Rebecca assured me. Let me make some calls and check the non-public transactions as well. Don't panic yet. Easy for her to say. This wasn't just about the money, though $15 million was certainly not an amount I could afford to lose. This was my home, my sanctuary. The thought of strangers taking possession of it made me physically ill. As the plane soared over the Pacific, I received another concerning update. Rebecca had discovered that a new bank account had indeed been opened in my name, with Tyler as a cosigner, at a small bank I'd never heard of. However, no large deposits had been made to this account. I also learned that Tyler had been inquiring about private sales with several real estate attorneys in Manhattan. One of them, thinking the inquiry suspicious, had contacted the Bar Association. These fragments of information only increased my anxiety. It seemed Tyler had truly been laying groundwork for some kind of transaction, but the details remained murky. I contacted the police to report potential fraud, but without clear evidence of a crime having been committed, they could only take an informational report. They advised me to bring any documentation of the alleged fraud once I returned to New York. The 16-hour flight felt like 16 days. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind created worst-case scenarios on repeat. By the time we landed at JFK, I was exhausted, disheveled, and ready for a confrontation. I took a taxi directly to my building, rehearsing what I would say to the doorman, to James, to the police if necessary. I had no idea what awaited me, but I was prepared to fight for my home with everything I had. The taxi pulled up to my building, and I practically threw my credit card at the driver in my haste to get out. The familiar facade of the luxury high-rise looked unchanged, but I half expected to be stopped at the door, told I no longer had the right to enter. Instead, Frank, the daytime doorman, greeted me with his usual friendly smile. Welcome back, Ms. Reynolds. We weren't expecting you for another week. I tried to keep my voice steady. Is everything all right with my penthouse? Frank? No visitors or unexpected activity. He looked confused. No, ma'am. Just the cleaning service on their regular schedule. I hurried to the front desk where James was reviewing security footage. He looked up, surprised to see me. Ms. Reynolds, I thought you were in Tokyo until next Friday. James, has there been any paperwork about my unit? Any sale documents, new ownership records, anything like that? He shook his head, looking increasingly concerned. No, nothing at all. Your penthouse is still registered in your name in all our building records. Are you absolutely certain? My brother claimed he sold it. 100% certain, James confirmed. We had our monthly board meeting yesterday and all property transfers are reviewed. Your unit wasn't mentioned. Relief began to wash over me, but I needed to see for myself. I took the private elevator to the top floor, my hands shaking as I pressed my key card against the reader. The light turned green, the doors opened, and I stepped into the foyer of my penthouse. Everything was exactly as I had left it. My furniture, my art, my belongings, all untouched save for the usual tidying from the cleaning service. I walked through each room, confirming that nothing had changed. The relief was so overwhelming that I sank onto my living room sofa and began to laugh, a slightly hysterical, exhausted laugh. My phone rang. It was Rebecca. Jessica, I've checked every possible angle. There is absolutely no record of any sale of your penthouse. The deed remains in your name. No transfer documents have been filed with the city. The property tax records are unchanged. As far as the law is concerned, you are still the undisputed owner. What about the bank account Tyler opened? It exists, but it's empty. There has been no deposit of $5 million or any amount close to that. I was about to respond when another call came through, Tyler again. I told Rebecca I'd call her back and switched to Tyler's call. Why did you lie to me? I demanded without preamble. Tyler's laughter came through the speaker. Not the maniacal sound I expected from someone who had committed fraud, but genuine amusement. So you're back in New York? That was fast. This isn't funny, Tyler. I canceled important meetings, flew 16 hours, and have been sick with worry. What kind of game are you playing? The kind that teaches valuable lessons, he said, his voice becoming more serious. How did it feel, Jess? How did it feel to think you'd lost everything? To have your security ripped away? To have your future plans destroyed in an instant? Suddenly, I understood. This was all a prank? To teach me a lesson. Not just a prank. A mirror. Now you know how I felt when you refused to help with Style AI. That devastation. That sense that someone who could help you simply won't? That's what I live with every day. My initial relief was rapidly being replaced by indignation. So you didn't sell anything? You made me panic, cancel meetings worth millions in potential contracts, fly across the world for nothing. Not for nothing, Tyler corrected. And technically, I did sell a property. Just not your precious penthouse. What are you talking about? Remember that small studio apartment in Brooklyn that I've been renting as a meeting space for Amber and me? I listed it for sale last month when the landlord mentioned he was considering selling. Got $5 million for it too, he paused dramatically. In Monopoly money from the game night Amber and I hosted last weekend. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The studio apartment wasn't even his to sell. The whole thing had been an elaborate ruse. You're telling me you pretended to sell my $15 million penthouse to teach me a lesson about how it feels to be refused money. Exactly. And based on how quickly you flew back, I'd say the lesson was effective. I should have been furious. I had every right to be. But as the absurdity of the situation sank in, something unexpected happened. I started to laugh. Not the stressed, hysterical laughter from earlier, but genuine, uncontrollable laughter. The entire scenario was so ridiculous, so perfectly Tyler, that I couldn't maintain my anger. I had been so convinced that my brother had committed a serious crime, had prepared myself for legal battles and police reports, only to discover it was all an elaborate, juvenile prank. "You're unbelievable," I finally managed to say between fits of laughter. Do you have any idea how worried I was? That was kind of the point, Tyler said, but I could hear him struggling not to laugh too. Though I have to admit, I didn't expect you to jump on a plane immediately. I thought you'd at least verify with your lawyer first. I did, but I was still worried enough to come back. Because you care about the penthouse that much. I paused, realizing what he was really asking. No, Tyler. Because I was worried about you. About what kind of trouble you might be getting yourself into. The line went quiet for a moment. When Tyler spoke again, His voice had lost its triumphant edge. I just wanted you to take me seriously for once. To see that Amber's business isn't just another one of my passing interests. I sighed, the laughter fading as I recognized the genuine hurt beneath his elaborate scheme. We need to talk. In person. Are you free for dinner tonight? After agreeing on a time and place, I ended the call and sat back on my sofa, shaking my head at the absurdity of it all. My penthouse was safe. My brother hadn't committed fraud. And yet, clearly, there were deeper issues between us that needed addressing. As the adrenaline of the past 24 hours began to fade, I realized that while Tyler's method had been extreme, perhaps I needed to listen more carefully to what he was trying to tell me. Not about needing $5 million, but about needing to be taken seriously. To be respected as an adult with his own dreams and ambitions. I looked around my beautiful penthouse, seeing it with fresh eyes after the brief fear of losing it. Maybe there was a lesson here for both of us. I selected a quiet Italian restaurant in the West Village for our meeting, neutral territory where we could talk without either of us having the home field advantage. I arrived early, choosing a corner table that would give us privacy for what was sure to be an intense conversation. Tyler arrived 15 minutes late, typical for him. He had the decency to look slightly sheepish as he slid into the seat across from me, though there was still a hint of defiance in his posture. "Before you start lecturing me," he said, raising his hands defensively, "I want to say that I know my prank went too far. But I needed to make a point." I took a slow sip of my water, gathering my thoughts. "I understand you were trying to make a point, Tyler. But do you understand how reckless and hurtful your actions were?" I was genuinely terrified, not just about losing my home, but about you committing a crime that could have sent you to prison. He fidgeted with his napkin. "I wouldn't have let it go that far. I was going to call you back later that day to tell you the truth. But the damage was already done. I canceled meetings that took months to arrange. I potentially jeopardized a development deal worth millions. All because you wanted to teach me a lesson." Tyler had the grace to look genuinely contrite. "When you put it that way, it sounds pretty selfish of me." It was selfish, I agreed, but softened my tone. "But I'm also willing to acknowledge that my reaction to your business proposal might have felt dismissive to you. So let's talk about that, honestly and openly." The waiter came to take our orders, providing a brief respite from the tension. When he left, Tyler leaned forward. "I don't actually need $5 million, he admitted. "I just threw out a big number because I thought you'd negotiate down to something reasonable. Amber's initial startup costs are closer to $50,000. I raised an eyebrow. $50,000 is very different from $5 million, Tyler. "Why didn't you just ask for that?" "Because every time I've come to you with a smaller request, you've given me the money without really engaging with what I'm trying to do. It's like you're paying me to go away. I wanted you to take this seriously, to actually look at the business plan. To meet Amber." His words stung because there was truth in them. I had been treating Tyler's ventures as passing phases, problems to be solved with money rather than genuine opportunities that deserved consideration. "You're right," I admitted. "I haven't been taking your ideas seriously. Part of that is because of past experiences, but that's not fair to you or to Amber. So why don't we start fresh? Tell me about Style AI, the real version, not the $5 million version." Tyler's face lit up. For the next 20 minutes, he described Amber's vision in detail, a fashion platform that would use AI to create personalized clothing designs based on users' measurements, style preferences, and current trends. The initial phase would focus on digital designs that users could purchase and take to local tailors, with plans to eventually partner with manufacturers for direct production. As he spoke, I could see that this wasn't just another of Tyler's fleeting interests. He had clearly spent time thinking through the business model, the target market, the competitive landscape. There were gaps in his knowledge, certainly, but there was also genuine passion and commitment. "I'd like to meet Amber," I said when he finished. "Would she be available for brunch this weekend?" Tyler's smile was answer enough. "She'd love that. She's actually been wanting to meet you for months. And I'd like to see a proper business plan, projected costs, revenue streams, marketing strategy. If this is going to be a real business, it needs to be approached professionally." "We have all that," Tyler assured me. Amber has a business degree along with her fashion background. She's been refining the plan for over a year. I nodded, pleasantly surprised. Good. Then let's review it together. And Tyler, I need you to understand something. My hesitation isn't about not believing in you. It's about wanting to protect you from potential disappointment and financial loss. I know, he said quietly. But sometimes you protect me so much that I don't get to take any risks at all. And without risk, there's no growth. His words resonated with me. In my attempt to shield Tyler from failure, had I been preventing him from experiencing the challenges necessary for personal development? Had my financial support become a form of control? The brunch with Amber that weekend was eye-opening. Far from the manipulative gold digger I had imagined, she was intelligent, articulate, and clearly passionate about her business concept. She brought a comprehensive business plan, complete with market analysis, competitive positioning, and realistic financial projections. We're looking at an initial investment of $50,000, she explained, pointing to the detailed budget. That would cover the MVP development, basic marketing, and operating costs for the first 6 months. Our goal is to secure 2,000 users in the first year, with a projected revenue of $120,000. The numbers were modest but realistic. I was impressed by her thoroughness and honesty about the challenges ahead. What's your background in AI? I asked. That seems to be the most technical aspect of this venture. I don't have a technical background, Amber admitted frankly. We'd use part of the investment to hire a developer with AI experience. I've already identified several candidates who have worked on similar projects. Her candor was refreshing. No grandiose claims, no promises of overnight success, just a clear vision and a practical plan for execution. To be thorough, I had one of my company's business analysts review their proposal. His assessment was cautiously positive. The concept is innovative and addresses a real gap in the market. The financial projections are on the conservative side, which is good. The main risks are technical execution and user acquisition costs, but they've accounted for these reasonably well. After a week of consideration, I made my decision. I invited Tyler and Amber to my penthouse for dinner. I'm prepared to invest $100,000 in Style AI, I told them over dessert. Double what you asked for. Because I believe you've underestimated some of the development costs. Their faces lit up, but I raised a hand to indicate I wasn't finished. However, I have 2 conditions. First, this is an investment, not a gift. I'll take a 15% equity stake in the company, with standard investor protections. Amber nodded immediately. That's more than fair. Second, I looked directly at Tyler. You need to complete your education. If you're going to be part of building a tech company, you need more knowledge and credentials. I want you to enroll in an MBA program, preferably one with a focus on entrepreneurship or technology management. Tyler's initial excitement dimmed slightly. Jess, you know how I feel about formal education. I do, I acknowledged. But this isn't about checking a box. It's about equipping yourself with the tools and network you'll need to make this venture successful. If you're serious about building a business with Amber, then be serious about preparing yourself for that role. Amber squeezed Tyler's hand. She's right, Tyler. I've been saying the same thing. My business degree has been invaluable for developing this plan. After a moment's hesitation, Tyler nodded. All right. I'll apply for the spring semester. Then we have a deal, I said, raising my glass. To Style AI and to new beginnings. As we clinked glasses, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. For perhaps the first time, Tyler and I were establishing a relationship based on mutual respect rather than dependency. I was supporting his dream, but with clear boundaries and expectations. And he was accepting those boundaries, recognizing them as expressions of care rather than control. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Startups rarely are. But whatever challenges awaited Tyler and Amber, they would face them with proper preparation, realistic expectations, and yes, adequate funding. And most importantly, they would face them as adults making their own choices, not as recipients of another bailout. As for our sibling relationship, Tyler's extreme prank had ironically opened a door to more honest communication. We had both recognized patterns that weren't serving us well, my overprotectiveness, his reactionary defiance, and taken the first steps toward healthier interaction. The penthouse that had been the center of our conflict now became the symbol of our new understanding, a place where business meetings were held, where ideas were respectfully debated, and where family bonds were strengthened rather than strained. 1 year after our Italian restaurant confrontation and Tyler's elaborate prank, I stood at the launch party for Style AI's beta platform. The event was being held in a trendy Soho gallery, with large screens displaying the app's interface and models wearing designs created through the platform. Tyler caught my eye across the room and made his way over, looking more mature in a well-fitted suit than I could have imagined a year ago. "What do you think?" he asked, gesturing around the room filled with fashion industry insiders, tech journalists, and potential investors. "I'm impressed," I said honestly. "The platform looks amazing, and these designs are genuinely beautiful. Amber's vision is really coming to life." The past year had been transformative for both Tyler and Style AI. With my initial investment of $100,000, they had built a working prototype that attracted attention from several angel investors. They secured an additional round of funding 3 months ago, allowing them to refine the AI algorithm and partner with their first manufacturing facility. Tyler had kept his promise too. He enrolled in an executive MBA program specializing in technology management and was excelling in his courses. The structure and knowledge seemed to fulfill something in him that had been missing before. "None of this would have happened without you," Tyler said, uncharacteristically serious. I shook my head. "That's not true. This is all you and Amber. I just provided some capital and advice." "No, it's more than that," he insisted. "You finally gave me the chance to prove myself. But you also held me accountable." That combination made all the difference. Across the room, Amber was confidently presenting the platform to a group of fashion editors. As the newly appointed CEO of Style AI, she had grown into her leadership role with remarkable poise. Tyler, serving as the company's CFO, had found his own niche in the business, managing finances and investor relations with unexpected skill. "Remember when I pretended to sell your penthouse?" Tyler asked, a hint of mischief in his smile. "That seems so childish now." "It was childish," I agreed with a laugh. "But it was also effective. It forced both of us to confront some uncomfortable truths about our relationship." "I was so angry when you refused to give me the $5 million, he admitted. "I felt like you didn't believe in me, like you were deliberately holding me back." "And I was convinced I was protecting you from another disappointment," I countered. We were both operating from old patterns that weren't serving either of us. The journey from that confrontation to this launch party hadn't been smooth. There had been setbacks with the technology, disagreements about strategy, moments of doubt when it seemed the business might not survive. But through it all, our new dynamic had held. I provided guidance without controlling, and Tyler accepted advice without resentment. Most importantly, I had learned to let go of the need to shield Tyler from every potential failure. Watching him navigate challenges, make mistakes, and find solutions had been difficult at times, but necessary for his growth. And, surprisingly, it had been liberating for me as well. "You know what I've realized?" I said, as we watched Amber demonstrate how users could customize designs through the app. "Love isn't about solving everyone's problems or preventing them from making mistakes. Sometimes, love means allowing people to face challenges and find their own way through." Tyler nodded thoughtfully. "And sometimes it means letting people help you, even when you're afraid of disappointing them." The boundaries we had established had strengthened rather than diminished our connection. Our relationship had evolved from caretaker and dependent to equals, each respecting the other's autonomy and wisdom. Beyond our personal growth, something unexpected had emerged from this experience. Inspired by the process of helping Tyler and Amber launch their business, I had established a small investment fund focused on supporting young entrepreneurs with promising ideas but limited access to traditional funding sources. Reynolds Ventures has reviewed 50 business plans in the last 6 months, I told Tyler. "We're funding 3 startups this quarter." "Look at you, becoming a venture capitalist," he teased. More of a mentor than just a money source, I clarified. Each investment comes with guidance, networking opportunities, and yes, accountability measures. As the evening wound down and guests began to depart, Tyler, Amber, and I found ourselves alone in the gallery. Amber raised her glass in a final toast. To new beginnings, successful launches, and family bonds that bend but don't break. We clinked glasses, and I felt a profound sense of peace. The journey that had begun with a desperate phone call escalated with a fake property sale, and transformed into a genuine partnership had taught me more about love, boundaries, and growth than I could have imagined. Sometimes the deepest wounds come from those closest to us, but from those same relationships can emerge our greatest lessons in love, trust, and forgiveness. In learning to balance support with respect for autonomy, I had found a healthier way to express my love for my brother, and in challenging me to see him as an adult capable of success, Tyler had helped me release the burden of constant responsibility I had carried since our parents' death. The penthouse that had symbolically stood at the center of our conflict now hosted regular family dinners and Style AI strategy sessions. It was no longer just my sanctuary, but a place where our new relationship continued to flourish. As I look back on this journey, I wonder about your experiences with family boundaries. Have you ever had to set difficult limits with someone you love? What did you learn from that experience? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more tales of family challenges and growth. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are the ones that ultimately bring us closer together.